my name is Jason J. Rock Houston. You guys are listening to an interview being done tonight for Chaotic Riffs Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. It's my great pleasure to be speaking with lead singer Kevin Martin from the band Candlebox. How are you doing tonight, Kevin?
I'm good, Jason. Thank you for taking the time.
Now, I understand you're calling me from Los Angeles today. Is that where you reside today? At this time, reason I'm asking.
That's where I reside in general.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is I was on Facebook, and I understand the band was originally formed in Seattle. So you guys are out here now these days?
So I moved down here in '98. I've been in Los Angeles, far too long. I've been trying to leave this place since I moved here. Not that it's a bad city or anything. There's a lot of people here, but yeah, we originally started the band in Seattle. I moved there in '84 when I was 14 years old. And met the guys when I was about 19, and that's when we started the band. Yeah, and now
talk about you guys formed like in the early '90s when grunge and alternative music was really big. So what was it like being part of that scene back then?
Well, the funny thing is we weren't part of the scene back then. I think that's kind of why we took as much heat as we did as a band. It was an amazing period. It was an amazing time. To be growing up there and watching it happen. One of the first concerts I saw was when Chris Cornell still played drums, and Soundgarden was a three-piece.
Wow.
So I've got a lot of that those great memories. But I was also about 6 years younger than most of the guys. Hiatus, Soundgarden, Jam, By the Love Bone. I was only 14 when those guys were 21. So it was it was a different kind of time. But it was amazing to grow up in that scene and see those bands kind of develop and what they turned into. It was nice to be recognized as a band from Seattle when we were. But it was also a bit of a hindrance because I think people at that point were kind of done with what had been happening with Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, and Alice in Chains, and all comes Candlebox in 1993 and releases a record about 2 years later than everybody else. So it was strange. It was hard to be that band to kind of be a punching bag for the rest of the Seattle scene. But here we are 22 years later still doing it, and we still have the fans that keep us on the road and continue to pay our rent by buying the records and tickets to the show. So I really can't complain. Yeah, and now going back, even to this day, as we talk in 2015, it's the Candlebox debut album, but everybody kind of still holds up. That's like everybody's. You're talking about Candlebox. That's one of their favorite Candlebox albums that everybody seems to just really love it. And my question is, when that album was first released back then, do you think a lot of the problem that people had was trying to figure out how to label you guys? Like, are they alternative? What are they grunge? What are they? Yeah, I think that was the biggest problem we had was, well, they're not really grunge, they're not really metal, they're not really rock, they're not really pop.
Where do they fit in?
Kind of a blues-based rock band, So I think that was the hardest thing, I think, for everybody to kind of grasp was that, we were a bit more about, if anything, the arena rock side of the musical community. And, if you listen to Mother Love Bone's album, which, was the predecessor to Pearl Jam 10, that's really the thing that anything we were closest to was kind of that sound. So it was difficult for people to kind of figure out where to put us.
And let me ask you, because again, we're talking to you in 2015 right now, all these years later, and again, whenever the name Candlebox comes up, the one album everybody points to, that debut album, so going back then, I got to ask, what was it like making that album? Again, you guys were a new band, you're recording your first album at the time. That must have been a very exciting time, in your life.
Well, it was. We had great expectations of not only ourselves, but of the label and the business, and when you make your first record, you've got 18, 19, 20 years that you've been living waiting to make that record, and then all of a sudden you're in the studio and you're in the process of recording it. You realize that all your wildest dreams are coming to it at that point. I think it's all the heartache and heartbreak that follows that is the hardest thing to swallow. Is you make this record and you have great fans and great success with it, but you're not really included in the cool kids category. So it's the excitement of making a record is soon overshadowed by being the outcast or the redheaded
Yeah, you know, an interesting thing, like I said, you know, if you put that debut album today, you know, it stands the test of time, Kevin. And I mean, I got to ask you, as a guy that created this music, are you surprised at, you know, how well the album and the songs on that album have stood the test of time? I mean, if you put it on today, it really doesn't sound dated. It just sounds like, you know, something that could have came out today.
No, I'm not surprised. Honestly, I know that the amount of time that we put into making this record, and the amount of love and real focus on the songs, real focus on the production. You know, I think it was even nominated for three different magazines as audiophile record of the year. Because it just sounded so clean and it sounded so good. I'm not really that kind of a guy. I prefer the raw, screwed up, mixed up, noisy, kind of, you know, over compressed and overblown type of stuff, because I was raised on punk rock. That's what I love. So for me, it's not really the record that I would prefer to listen to, but I can understand why people love it, because it's a very precise record, and you know, we're all very, very proud of that album, and we're happy that, you know, 22 years later, well, actually far behind it, you are, from the Red Demo Tape, which we recorded in '91.
Wow.
So, you know, damn near 24 years later, you know, those two songs are still still stand as audio crispness.
Wow. And so, you know, it's kind of interesting to hear you say that, because again, you know, I'm talking to the lead singer of the band, the guy who's kind of the voice of the band, you know, the principal songwriter. Now, you tell me, like, you were more influenced by punk bands and that. Do you think Candlebox ended up sounding like what you guys sound like because of other members in the band, other influences coming in, or was it more of an outside producer and people at the label telling you, no, this is the kind of stuff we want you guys to do?
No, it has everything to do with how we approach the songs. I think that, you know, every record you listen to, you can hear the four defining characteristics: the drummer, the bass player, the guitar player, and the singer, and all those influences that we all brought to the table that became those songs, became that sound. You know, we all were cut from very different cloths, musical backgrounds, but somehow they all fit, and have continued to do so, record after record. So, you know, we've never really worked with producer-songwriters. I've only ever written one other song with somebody other than the guys in the band. Actually, two other songs, and one of which was one I wrote with a best friend of mine that I've had for years, and the other one was Chris Daughtry. So I've really never worked outside of the band with anything. Wow.
And so now, you know, going back in time when the band first got together, you know, as you guys are recording the debut album, I got to ask, you know, people probably, you know, in the industry think, oh, you know, Candlebox, they had overnight success, but I'm sure, like a lot of bands, you guys were in the trenches, you know, just writing the songs and getting everything demoed, and, you know, trying to get management, trying to get a record deal back in the day. But once success started coming, I mean, were you surprised at, you know, at how fast the success came and kind of went?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, you know, you're excited and you're recording the record, and then all of a sudden the heartbreak comes. You know, it's not a guarantee. You know, getting signed and making an album is not a guarantee that you're going to be a rock star, and it's not a guarantee that you're going to have a career forever. I was always the most realistic person in the band when it came to, you know, listen, we need to take our time. You know, when we make these records, we can't just throw out another album, and we need to sit down and focus with the producer. We need to sit down and focus with the label, and that's hard to do when you're the only one and you got three other guys who are saying, "No, look, we just get in the studio and make a record." But, you know, it's difficult, and that success came so quickly. You know, we started the band in 1991. We were signed in '92. Record came out in '93, and, you know, we had a platinum album in 1994. You know, that's 3 years of you know,
in the trenches, so to speak.
What some bands, what some bands have, you know, done, and it's taken them 10 years to make. You know, so I can understand where, you know, people were like, oh, they were an overhit, you know, not success or one-hit wonder. But, you know, I like to leave it up to the music, and I leave it up to the songs. And when you look at those songwriting credits, those were written by us. They weren't written by anybody else. And so, you know, if you don't like the music, that's fine, but, you know, don't take away from the band what the band was able to accomplish. And that's how I look at everything, you know, whether I like a band or not. I like to look at, you know, who's writing the songs, you know, where do they come from, and what's the point behind the song, and is it relevant? And do I find some sort of emotional attachment to that? And if I don't, I don't really like the band, and I can't write music that I'm not attached to, and that's what Candlebox has always done.
And let me ask you now, once it came time, to get ready to start writing songs for a second album, would you say that the bigger problem was you found that you guys were competing with yourself in the sense that, like when it came to a record label and manager, they all wanted you to go in there and, do like a carbon copy of a debut album, or was a record label like telling you, these are the bands that are popular, we want you to write stuff like that? What was going on at the time?
It was a lot of internal turmoil.
Yeah.
There was a drug and alcohol problem. It was hindering the band's creative writing process. There was outside pressure from the label.
Yeah.
There was pressure from management. It really fucked us up.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest downfall and and upset for that record was that there was just so much outside influence that was keeping us from being productive and prolific and in some senses profound musically. And it's not my favorite record. It's the 20th anniversary of that record this October 3rd.
Wow.
Which I still can't believe. And, and I'm actually in the process of rewriting a lot of the songs to start playing them live because I want a different feel from them. I want something different from the songs.
Wow.
The vision that I had for the band at the time when we were writing that record and working it out is not what we recorded. And that has everything to do with distractions.
And now, is there any chance that you would ever, like a lot of these artists, go back and, since you were kind of unhappy with the way the second album came out, okay, we're going to go in and re-record some of these older tracks and kind of bring them up to date? Or are you kind of the type of guy that's like, well, I didn't really like the way the album came out, but it is what it is, and we're going to kind of just leave it at that?
I talk about it. I would love to go back and re-record that record, but that's not going to happen. And it is what it is. But like I said, I can revamp them, I can readdress them for the live show, and that's what I'm going to do. And I can make it what I wanted it to be for the live show, and hopefully, the audience admires that and appreciates it.
Oh, that's cool. Now, I know you guys were originally signed. Your original record deal was with Maverick Records, which of course was a label was owned by Madonna. I was curious, how did you guys hook up with her and get signed to a label? Did they come to you, or was it a matter of you sending them a demo?
We were invited down to play a showcase in Los Angeles for EMI SBK.
Wow.
For Fred Davis. And Guy Osiri got a phone call from his attorney saying, listen, there's a band from Seattle I think you need to see, and they're playing at Club Lingerie tonight for SBK, EMI. And Guy wandered down to the show and saw our set and called Freddie and said, this is the band we have to have. So we hadn't even been on their radar. I think they were talking with a band out of Seattle called Green Apple Quickstep, and I think they were even quoting Hole, Courtney Love and Hole.
Wow.
So I think we were, just a happy accident for them.
Yeah. And did you guys ever have an opportunity to meet Madonna herself, or did you just, have dealings like with...
Several occasions. Yeah, she was great to us. She took very, very good care of us. Was very gracious with her time with us and her home and, venues and dinners. And, she was a lovely woman. She did us a huge favor. And
so, what kind of ended the relationship with the label? Was it just a matter of it's time for the band to kind of call it a day for a while, or were you dropped? What was the deal?
The label lost the sight of how they had started and what they got into it for. There had been so many changes from 1992 to 2002, and we just got to a point where we felt that there was just nothing there for us with them. They had, just somehow forgotten that, Alanis Morissette and the Deftones and Candlebox were, the three building blocks in which that company was built, and, they weren't paying attention to us and the other bands, and we just felt, this is not what we got into this for, and we want to get out of it. And,
it's interesting, Kevin, like, you're saying earlier it's coming up on the 20th anniversary of the second Candlebox album, and I bring that up because in preparation for speaking with you today, I was getting on your Facebook page and doing a little research, and there's a little quote. Somebody was saying that it's nice to have like 20 years to draw from. Instead, a lot of times it's hard for bands to have a little niche or find their niche. And you guys kind of have 20 years to draw on, and I think that's a great thing as far as the band getting back together and I mean, can you imagine if you guys were just starting out today? You know, nobody knew who Candlebox was.
I would hate to be in a band right now trying to make it. Starting a band would be the worst job in the world.
And so, you know, what was the point when you guys kind of decided to, you know, call it a day, or did you ever officially break up, or did you consider it more like we're going on hiatus and we'll get back when the time's right?
We broke the band up in 2002 to get out of the deal with Maverick.
Uh-huh.
Our attorney had advised us that would be the best way for us to get out of contract.
Uh-huh.
But what happened was it ended up backfiring. They had in the contract they had a thing called the Q-Man clause, which basically means that anything I do, being a singer of the band Candlebox, stays with Maverick Records as Candlebox.
Wow, wow.
So we were stuck for a few years, and that's why, you know, everybody went off to do side projects and work on other things, because we just could not deliver another record box. And then so when that relationship was terminated in 2004, you know, everybody kind of discussed maybe we'll get back together at some point and do some touring, but it didn't really come together until 2006.
Wow, wow. And so now during the downtime, did you do anything musically outside of Candlebox, or were you kind of just waiting, you know, to get the guys back together come 2006?
No, I was doing a lot. I produced a bunch of bands.
Wow.
I had released a solo record called Kevin Martin and the High Watts, The Possibility of Being.
Wow.
I toured Europe with Feather. I did a bunch of shows around the country with my band, the High Watts. So all of us stayed very busy. It just was a matter of, you know, making sure that we kept the Candlebox brand and the name somewhere around.
Yeah. And so, you know, when you were performing as a solo artist and promoting your solo, I'm always curious, what was that like for, you know, after all these years of, you know, fronting Candlebox, you know, where you got other guys in the band who kind of, you know, are there to back you up. You're kind of, you know, the main guy that everybody's looking at, and the focus is all on you. Was that a little different?
It was hard.
Yeah.
It wasn't different because I'd been used to, you know, kind of people looking at me for a long time as the singer, but it was difficult because I wasn't playing the same kind of music.
Yeah.
You know, even though I would, every now and then I'd play like Far Behind You in the set, and I'd say, you know, this is a cover song I wrote.
Yeah.
You know, most of the time it was just trying to deliver the new message of the new project. And I was working and playing with some really fantastic musicians, which I was enjoying. I was enjoying a newfound love of my kind of punk rock roots and the things that I grew up on. So it was more enjoyable than really anything, and it still didn't seem like work. So I was fortunate in that. But you know, we were trying to break a new project, and in that comes, you know, the difficulties of making sure that people know who Kevin Martin and the High Watts are, and where they came from, and who I was, and that took a lot of work. That took a lot of marketing, a lot of you know, a lot of press, and reaching out to interviews and radio stations to try and get them to play the record.
And let me ask you, like, you know, when you're trying to rebrand yourself and go out there as a solo artist, you know, again, the music industry is a lot different than it was back, you know, in the 90s when you guys got your start. You know, did anybody care about the fact, you know, that this is a former singer of Candlebox, or people say, yeah, Candlebox, they're done with, man. You know, what was that experience like for you?
I think everybody was kind of stoked that I was still making music. I never really experienced any kind of backlash from it.
That's great.
You know, people always ask the question, you know, what's going on with Candlebox and this and that, but I had to, you know, be very quiet about it because, you know, we were in a legal battle with the label. So I couldn't really say, you know, Maverick Records is a bunch of dickheads and filing them and suing them to get out of the deal and stuff like that. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of, you know, skirt the issue and just get him to focus on the band. And I was generally pretty successful with that.
And so, had you been in touch with other guys in Candlebox during the downtime? I mean, were you guys constantly talking? I mean, like, when you guys finally reunited, what was it like to get back together? Had it been like years since you guys had talked or seen each other?
No, we'd talk and we'd see one another on the holidays and stuff. You know, when I'd go home to Seattle for Christmas or whatever, you know, we'd get together and have a coffee or drink somewhere. But when we put the band back together in 2006, the first rehearsal was, you know, basically like we just stepped back on a bike and started pedaling. It was like we hadn't lost anything. And you know, that's why I think, you know, people love Candlebox is that we never made music that wasn't what we wanted to make. And that in that passion comes the, you know, talent to play it, and you know, everybody in Candlebox is extremely talented. You know, the guitar work, the bass playing, and the drumming is you know, I would put up against some of the best bands ever. And that's why, you know, we made the records we made, and we had the success we had because we were so, you know, dedicated to the music we were writing.
Yeah, and you know, during the downtime, you guys were almost away for like really had no activity for about 6 or 7 years. So when you guys first announced that, you know, okay, Candlebox is getting back together, what kind of response did you get from the fans? I mean, what was that like for you?
Oh, it was massive. All the shows that we booked sold out. The tour was sold out. And we hit the road and hit the ground running. It was amazing.
And, you know, and then that kind of brings us up to current date, which, you know, part of the reason we're doing this interview is because your publicist sent me a little press release about the fact that you guys are now signed with Pavement Entertainment, which is a great little label that I'm aware of. So I guess, you know, next logical question is how did you guys hook up with them?
Well, Tim, who is our A&R guy over there, had been speaking with an old manager of ours about 4 years ago about doing something. And it just wasn't the right time. I don't think it was the right time for them and the right time for us. Yeah. And our now manager, Eric Baker, who knows Tim from his band Soil, called him and said, hey, you've got a record company or something you're doing, right? And Tim's like, yeah, I've got this thing called Pavement. What's up? And Eric's like, well, I'm managing Candlebox. And he's like, you know what? We want to do that record. So it literally kind of fell in our laps and fell in his lap. And here we are.
You know, and you know, it's kind of interesting the fact that, you know, when you look at both the fact that you were signed to Maverick and Pavement, these are both labels that are really, you know, owned and operated by, musicians. And the interesting thing about Pavement, anybody who doesn't know the story about Pavement, Tim King is a bass player from Soil, and the funny thing is he's such a smart guy because, you know, if you know anything about Soil, they're almost full-blown metal compared to like what Candlebox does. And if you look at the roster on Pavement, they've got metal bands, they've got rap, they got every type of band you can imagine. And and what I love about it is it's one of these labels that is run by a musician rather than a guy in a suit who knows nothing about, you know, what it's like to be a musician, what it's like to make a record. So that's the part of the Pavement story that I just, you know, really love.
Yeah, me too.
And you know, I mean, it could be one of these guys where, oh no, I'm only going to sign, you know, metal acts to my label, but I think it's cool that he gets such a diverse, roster of artists, you know, on his label.
Yeah, that's great.
And so, what's the plan now? Are you guys going to do any live shows? Or are you pretty much working on a new album for next year?
We're touring now. We're doing weekend shows, a lot of radio festivals and stuff like that. We start the record next week in York, Pennsylvania, with this kid named Carson Slovak, who just produced the August Burns Red record that debuted at number 4. So yeah, we're in the throes of it right now, and enjoying it. We're really looking forward to making this record. We're doing it on a limited basis of time, so we've forced ourselves to be, productive under pressure. And yeah, the record comes out March 11th of next year, and we've got Europe and South America dates and all sorts of stuff coming up. Wow,
I love the fact that there's already, you know, a release date, you know, set in stone. I mean, that could change, I guess, but you know, it's kind of a little added pressure to work under. But so really, how far are you guys into that? I mean, you just got the songs written. Is it a matter of just going in and recording them?
Yeah, we've got a few of them written. So we'll, you know, knock those out first, and the rest of the stuff we tend to write in the studio. So
cool.
we'll focus in on maybe 2 songs a day to knock out of the new stuff, and the other tracks they'll come together in about an hour each. So you know, we work very, very quick, and we're very, you know, prolific in the studio when it comes to our time and the constraints that we work under. So we're excited, and we know that within the 12 to 15 days that we're limiting ourselves to do it, that we'll definitely deliver the record we want to deliver.
Wow. And so let me ask you, Kevin. Now, when you guys write, because you know, songwriting, I think, is a big part of any band's, you know, success, because you can have the best looking guys in the band and you have a cool sounding name in that, but if you don't have songs that got hooks and, you know, are catchy and things that people can easily listen to and get into, you're not gonna go too far. So when you guys get in the studio, do you typically have everything written? Do you like, since you're kind of a singer, do you write all the lyrics, or do you kind of jam the songs out with everybody once everybody's in the studio?
Yeah, I write all the lyrics and all the melodies. I write the majority of the songs, but it's a collaborative effort when it comes to putting the song together and creating new parts for those tracks. And that's what we tend to do in the studio. I very rarely go in, with more than 3 or 4 songs. Excuse me. I like to write while I'm in the studio. It feels more natural, and so I really only go in with a couple tracks that are done. The rest of it is, ideas that we can develop rather quickly. We're sitting around, with some acoustic guitars and drum set. Excuse me.
And even like for this album, you guys kind of go in there with a mindset, okay, we're going to go in and record like an album of like 11 or 12 tunes, or do you kind of just go in and see what comes out? I mean, if you ever record an album where you have an excess of material left over, what's the process usually like?
Most of the time we focus on 11 songs, but we've also, been known to do 14 and 15 tracks and have B-sides, which, is always a good thing for iTunes and Best Buys and stuff like that. So, it's really just try and have 11. If you only have 9, you only have 9. It's really, it's a matter of how hard you work while you're in the studio, which you end up with.
And you were telling me now during Candlebox's Downtown that you were also producing other acts. Was that something you really enjoyed? And what was it like, going in and working with another artist and kind of as an outside ear, kind of helping guide what they were creating?
I love it, man. It's really great to take somebody's vision and watch it unfold right in front of you, and to see the joy on their face where they're producing these tracks that they've only dreamed about doing, and you're helping them, get them to where they want them to be. It's a great feeling, and if I was only a producer for the rest of my life, I'd be happy doing it.
And then let me ask you, have you ever thought about producing Candlebox, or do you feel that you'd be too close to that, that you'd rather have an outside ear to kind of guide you guys when you're in the studio?
Yeah, I can't produce Candlebox. I would never even
try
it. It's not my. I'm so close to it, like you said. I couldn't be objective at all.
Yeah, and so as far as the touring you guys are currently doing, and once the album comes out, is the plan to kind of get on a major tour, maybe do a tour with some of other artists on the label? Have you guys discussed that at all?
I think it's a possibility. We haven't really gotten that far because we've just been so focused on getting the record ready to be recorded. I'm sure at some point that'll be discussion between the label and us and some of the other bands. I don't see why it wouldn't be, and I don't see why it wouldn't be a good tour. It should be a matter of figuring out who's going to be a headliner and what type of venues we can take it into.
And then, let me ask you, Kevin. Now, once the band you guys have been touring for the last couple of years since 2006. When you came back, did you have to kind of start over, like doing clubs, or what's you playing to big audiences? What's that been like for you guys?
Well, we went right into theaters, 1,500 to 3,000 seat theaters. So it's kind of like we've never left.
That's kind of the point I was trying to make. Is I was asking did you have to kind of get in there and rebuild the Candlebox name, so to speak, or everybody kind of remembered who you guys? Oh, yeah, great, Candlebox is back. We're going to go and support our band.
No, we didn't really have to rebuild it. I was kind of surprised. We did a little bit of press prior to setting the tour up, and we, figuring out what markets we were going to go into. But really, I think people have been waiting for us to do something for some time. So it was, I think, probably a hell of a lot easier than it was doing our first tour as a band back in '93.
And back in the day, the internet's a new tool we have too. We didn't have the internet to get the word out about any of this. And so, what's that been like coming back and having people? I mean, you must have people like even emailing, oh, I hope you guys put this song in the set list, and giving you ideas. That must be a great new tool for you guys to get the word out about the band and everything.
Oh, well, the social networking is it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
It's positive and negative at the same time.
Of course, yeah.
It's a great way for us to reach our fans. Yes, we get emails. Yes, we answer them. It's not a management team or anybody everybody else. If you tweet Candlebox, you're tweeting to me. If you Facebook Candlebox, you're Facebooking me. So you know, it's a great thing not only for us as the musicians, but it's for the fans. But it can also be, you know, there's a negative to it.
Yeah.
You know, today I posted something about gun control, and I'm just sickened by the number of deaths that have happened.
Yeah.
You know, over the past few years, and you know, you get the fans that go, you know, why don't you focus on the music and keep politics out of it? And I'm like, you know, it's just my fucking opinion.
Yeah.
And my opinion matters, and you know, you want to write to me and expect me to write you back, but if I write something you don't want to hear, you get pissed off about it. And you know, that's the downside of that instantaneous connection between an artist and a fan or an audience.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and again, not to get political here, but you know, just for a minute, but you know, I agree. You know, a lot of what you're saying as far as gun control. I mean, because you just look at the fact that you know, I can't think what the statistics, but the fact of the matter is that Europe has a lot of less murders for the simple fact, you know, like only police officers and people that are supposed to carry guns, you know, are legally to have guns, and for that reason alone, they have a lot less murders than what we have here in the United States. And if you just look at a fact like that alone, okay, well, that says something right there, you know.
Yeah, and then you get the argument back. Somebody says, well, you know, if you don't, how are you going to take all the guns out of everybody's hands now? That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, it wasn't political. It was emotional.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. But everybody wants to, you know, pipe off on Facebook and say something because, you know, they feel like it's their right and their freedom. And you know, it's fine to disagree with me. But all I was doing was, you know, and I even stated in my post that this is an emotional statement. It's not a political statement. You know, and that's it. But, you know, there's a downside to it. You know, but the upside is that you reach 42,000 people or 100,000 people with a post, and they all know what you're doing, and hopefully that 1% that doesn't agree with your political stance isn't coming to the show. Well,
Kevin, I know you're very busy, man. So I'm gonna thank you once again for taking time out of your very busy schedule to do this. It's really been great talking to you, and I want to wish you and the rest of the band all the luck on this new album you guys are currently working on, and I'd really like to talk to you again, you know, once the album hits on March 11th, and kind of we can do another interview then and talk about more specifically about the new album that's just dropped. So good luck with the new album, and maybe we can talk again in early 2016. So it's been great, really great talking to you. You take care, my friend, okay?
Thanks, boss. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, bye-bye.